Right, I think we'll get going then. I think we've got most of the people we're expecting on the call. So we've got 18 of us, I think it is today. And there's quite a few people who can't make it today. Obviously, there's quite a few people who are teaching kids at the moment. I know many of you are probably doing that in between things, and there's all sorts going on at the moment. So we're recording this video. I just checked then where I am actually recording. We'll save it afterwards and kind of edit it and then put it out onto the new YouTube channel we've got as well. So today the plan is, and I'll just quickly share my screen with you. One thing I mentioned, obviously, everyone's on mute at the moment. If you do want to ask something when we're going through, just unmute yourself and question or put it in the chat, whatever it might be, as we're going through. I've put a poll on there as well if anyone wants to have a look at that. I can see a few of you answered. Interesting. We've got one very negative person. I'm not going to guess who that is. I'll leave that to anyone else. But anyway, we'll see on that. Like I mentioned, it's going to be recorded, and we'll for people who can't make it right now. And if you've got anything as you're going through, you want to put in the chat box, whether it's attachments or links to useful things, your contact details, whatever it might be, obviously feel free to do that as we're going through. That's no problem at all. So, in terms of the agenda today, so quick introduction from me. I'm going to do a few things as we go through, because I'm sure many of you are aware, and it's related to a number of you on this call, that quite a few new people have joined the Northern Affinity over the last couple of months or so. So I wanted to kind of go through everything, kind of pick out what is available, what's relevant now, what is relevant in the normal world, and what hopefully will be relevant soon. So I'll be going through that in a few small stages. Caroline, who's one of the people who has recently joined us, will be going to be doing something on PR for everybody. So Caroline, I'll let her explain who she is and what she does and that kind of thing in a second. We're then going to do a couple of breakout rooms as well in between, so give chance for you guys just to have some conversations with each other, because rather than just listening to me chatting away, it gives you a chance to have some communication with each other. Some of you, as mentioned, quite new, so you might not know each other as well, so that's a good chance for us to do that as well. So let's say I'm going to do a couple of quick minutes on this before I hand over to Caroline. So content, it's going to be a big focus of what we do over the next few weeks and months. Tessa's on this call, so I'll mention her in a minute. Around the blogs, I'm sure a number of you received my email this morning with the blogs. But first, want to mention the live videos. Again, I sent an email out, I believe it was last week. And we've now got LinkedIn Live, which is a facility which I tested it out yesterday with a short video. Seemed to work absolutely fine. It can simultaneously go on Facebook page as well. So we'll be doing that. I've started to book those in with you guys, and we're going to have some conversations, and hopefully it's a great chance for you guys to promote yourself. Because I know that the LinkedIn and the Facebook algorithms love the live videos, so it's hopefully a good chance for us to use that. So I've just set up a YouTube channel as well, which we're going to host all those for future reference. So if you want to use them yourself to promote yourself, they're great. But also, and I've mentioned this to a few people, I'd like to use them if ever there's referrals or anything like that we're passing, rather than the kind of usual way of sending a name and an email address. Being able to send a short video, or at least a link to a video, to somebody, tell them what they do, who they are, will be quite a unique way maybe. So it might be something that helps you guys stand out in the future. So whether it's me referring you on to somebody else, or you referring each other to other people, hopefully it's another string to the bow. So they'll be starting next week. I think we've got 3 booked in next week, and then quite a few in the weeks after that. The guest blogs I mentioned, so I sent out the template this morning for you guys who are interested in the guest blogs, just to send through some information, relatively basic bit of information that Tessa can then take and write and make it sound better than I could write. Anyway, that's for certain. But it's relatively time consuming. It's not time consuming for you guys at all to hopefully spend maybe 5-10 minutes getting that little bit of research that probably easier and quicker for you to find because you're experts in what you do, and it can give Tessa a really good start to be able to write these blogs. Tessa, I don't know if you've got anything you want to add to that before I move on. No, fine, perfect. News articles as well. So if anyone's ever got anything news-wise that they want put on the website, again, we want to promote them. I've already mentioned the recorded videos, but we, as well as the interview type ones we're going to be doing live, I'd be very keen to do all sorts of different videos and all sorts of different things we can do. We can use the facilities that we've got. Some of you may have seen something I did a couple of weeks ago with Anna, with Fliss, and with Brenda regarding strategy. I'm more than happy to do anything like that again. So whether we get people in smaller groups, maybe using the collaboration groups we're having, something like that, having some discussions, recording them, using them as content for everyone to use. Perfect. More than happy to do that. We've got the directory on the website. I've been spending a bit of time, obviously, adding the new guys recently. If you want to go and check on your entry on the website, see if it's still up to date, because I'm sure a lot of your business will change. Please let me know, and if you want anything altering, amending, adding, I will do. And finally, we now have on the website 2 or 3 of the partners have podcasts, which are on there, links to all on there. You're probably aware that we were going to do a Northern Affinity one, but that's kind of been put on the back burner a little bit with the current situation. But I'll go back to that again whenever normality resumes, which the majority of you saying is August or September. So maybe in August or September we'll be looking to do the podcast. So that's it from me for the first bit in terms of the content side of things, because it's going to be a big focus. One thing I didn't mention is that the website is currently being amended and updated to reflect these changes. So we're going to have a bigger focus on, firstly, on the homepage. The content is going to be there straight away as soon as people join, but also changes and amendments to make it easier and better, and separating out videos and blogs and various other things. But as soon as that's live and ready to go, I'll let you all know. And I will now pass you over to Caroline, if that's okay, Caroline, who will introduce herself, tell you all a bit about PR. And I mean, I wanted Caroline to do this bit this month because I think right now there's a lot of messages going out there on social media and content, and I think what you're putting out there and how you're doing it and everything like that is really important now. It's really in focus, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about that. So I'm sure Caroline can kind of talk to you about that and kind of generally about PR. But I'll leave you to introduce yourself, Caroline, and go from there.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Mike.
Hopefully you're on mute, Caroline.
Oh, I shouldn't be. Can you not hear me? Not sure.
Oh, I can hear you, Caroline.
Can you hear me?
It was me.
Can you hear me now? It's like St. Peter's. Okay, can you hear me now? Right, you can definitely hear me, yeah? Excellent, right, okay, great. Nothing like making an entrance. Thank you for that. This is my first ever Northern Affinity meeting. So thanks to Mike for asking me to do this, because, there's no pressure or anything to do your first meeting and then have to go on and speak, but that's fine. It's good to have the opportunity. And just to kind of say, for those of you who very kindly messaged me off the back of LinkedIn and stuff about having one-to-ones and stuff, sorry I haven't been back in touch. I mean, I don't know how you guys are finding it, but this kind of situation, it's such a roller coaster, and 1 minute it's busy, 1 minute you don't know what you're doing, the next minute it's high, then it's low. So yeah, a bit of a funny week here, but I will be back to normal next week when I've kind of sorted a few things out. So you've been really, really welcoming and great, so thank you very, very much. So I'm Caroline Joynson. I'm the founder of Cheerleader PR, and I've been a member of the Northern Affinity, well, since lockdown began, really. But I am a co-worker at the Northern HQ, which I'm missing very, very much. And I think that's part of the reason for my roller coaster, because that's part of my routine, going off to the Northern HQ, quite a few days a week. So anyway, I'm sure a lot of you can identify with me in that point. So I put together a little presentation just to give you a bit of an overview of PR, bit of information about me and the sort of work that I do. If you've got any questions, then I've got the chat open, so please just throw them in there, or if you want to ask me anything at the end, then you're very welcome to, and I will do my best to answer your questions. So let me just share my screen. There we go. Do it. There we go. Right. Okay. Excellent. So let's talk about PR. But first I'll talk about me, if that's all right, just to give you a bit of an introduction, and then I'll talk about all the exciting things to do with PR. So as I say, I'm Caroline Joynson. I'm the founder of Cheerleader PR, and I've worked in PR for just under 20 years, which sounds a long time, and it probably is really. I mean, when I first started working in PR, we would just stopped faxing press releases and we'd started emailing them, but there's still the odd things that went out via fax, and we still definitely used to post out press releases. Like the big agency I worked for, like there was, you know, a few people who in admin whose jobs were to send out massive press release post outs to journalists. So things have changed a lot in terms of how we do things, but it's still the same principles. I worked for two Leeds agencies, one of which was an agency called Ptarmigan PR, which was the biggest agency in Leeds at the time. And it had won the PR Week Consultancy of the Year, which was the first time an agency had won it outside London. So that was a massive coup. And we had amazing clients. I mean, I worked for lots of big brands, but my favourites were probably working for the Football Association, in terms of promoting women's football and growing the perception and reputation of that. We used to promote the England Women's Internationals, which at the time, this is like, I'm talking 2005, when there was Women's Euro 2005, women's football didn't have didn't have the profile and the reputation it does now. So I like to think we helped to build towards that by, you know, getting more people interested in women's football as in its own right. And we also managed the PR for the national recycling campaign, Recycle Now. We launched Recycle Now, which was an amazing experience. And we worked for a lot of the Nestle brands like Quality Street, Lion Bar, Kit Kat. So we used to always have a good story with chocolate, which was a bonus. And then from Ptarmigan, I went on to the National Media Museum in Bradford, and I was the senior press officer there for 6 years, promoting various film festivals and exhibitions. The film festivals were quite bonkers. We used to have all sorts of guests come into the museum. Michael Palin was there for a whole weekend promoting his, celebrating his film work and TV work. That was definitely a career highlight for me. And he is as nice in person as he appears on TV, just to confirm that. And then I went freelance 6 years ago. So I did PR for a variety of small, medium businesses. Really the theme there was businesses who had turned their sort of passion into a business. So very, very passion led entrepreneurs who had made a business out of their passion. But having done that for 6 years and doing people's PR for them, I wanted to also, you know, give people the skills to promote themselves more confidently. So I launched Cheerleader PR last year, so that I could help to empower passionate business owners to become their own best cheerleader. And that's because I think as a business owner and as a personal brand, you are the business, you are the brand. And as much as I can go and shout out about you and be your biggest cheerleader, which I absolutely am for all my clients, I want you to be able to be the best cheerleader for yourself, because ultimately you know your business the best. So I've started coaching people and promoting themselves, and offering workshops, and I also still do people's PR for them, so I still offer consultancy as well. So that's just a bit about me, and I always like to start my presentations just talking a bit more about what PR is, because I think throughout my whole career, I mean, I still don't think my parents understand what I do. I think they still think, my granny used to think it was advertising, and people do still occasionally think that. I mean, I think obviously in this forum, I know you're all, you know, established business people, so I'm sure you have your own, you know, view on PR and your own experiences, but I always just like to start with this so that we all start on the same page. I think Mike said I was the only PR person in this group. So again, it's just a good chance just to kind of set my stall out, really. So I like to start with a bit of a traditional definition, which is from the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. And as I say, throw any questions into the chat. I can't see it now that I'm sharing my screen, but I'll come back to them at the end. But yeah, public relations is about reputation and the result of what you do, what you say, and what others say about you. And the things I think here that really stand out is the reputation, the relationship side of PR, in that it's oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. Just what you need, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. So PR is essentially about relationships and reputation. So it's kind of everything that you do as a business owner. And like Mike said, you know, especially at the moment, we're all being encouraged to kind of keep putting ourselves out there and keep talking. But it is a very difficult time, and you know, it's a very different time to how it was a couple of months ago. So it's something that PR kind of changes. You know, your values and your mission would stay the same, but just when you're communicating about it, it's being mindful of whatever the current situation is. And I think the current situation now is a really good example of that. But ultimately, you're trying to influence people and, you know, show how good you are at what you do, and how, you know, how you can help people. So the easiest way to describe PR, it still goes back to that advertising example, but it is quite an obvious way to sort of describe what PR is. In that with the traditional example was always comparing PR to advertising, but now with so many different ways to advertise, I've compared it to Facebook ads, but it's still, whatever advertising is, it's the same gist really. But the idea is that when you buy space and buy an advertising space, you essentially can say, right, whatever you want, because you paid for the space. So you can tell people you're good at what you do, and people know that it's an advert, and you know, it's not really independent, it's your own opinion. But in PR, you're essentially getting other people who have already got the know, like, and trust factor to say that you're good, to say that you're interesting, you're worth talking about, you're worth talking to. And essentially, you can't buy that. You're not paying them to say that. They are saying that from their own, their own opinion. So you can't buy it, and you don't, as they don't, you don't pay for it, so it doesn't involve an upfront cost. And just looking at another way, we call PR earned media, as in you've earned the right to be covered. So it's essentially channels owned by other people. I mean, the thing is, now we're all essentially our own media outlets. You know, we've got our own TV channels, we've got YouTube, we can have our own podcast, we can have our own radio show, we've got our own online media through social media, our website. You know, it's very different to, as I say, when I started in PR, we didn't have those things, but we still do absolutely have media that are channels that are owned by other people, whether they be your traditional media, you know, your newspapers, your TV, your radio, or other people's groups. Like this is an example of someone else's group, which I've been, you know, invited to talk in. So it's basically channels that are owned by other people, so you don't have the control over them. It's about earning your place on to be featured. So the most obvious part of PR that people know of is media relations. So that's getting editorial media written by journalists, but also blog coverage, or, you know, getting influencers if influencers feature you. But the caveat would be that you're not paying them to feature you. It's all about being featured by merit. And obviously the media has a massive reach, and mostly, you know, in most cases, a good reputation. So you're essentially piggybacking on their audience and their reputation to get that endorsement. Speaking on podcasts, or other people's podcasts, is another example of earned media. Speaking at conferences, guest blogging, as I say, featuring on social media feeds of key influencers, if it's not a hashtag ad, although you know, that is something that kind of falls under PR as well, but it's just slightly different. But also hosting your own events, and you know, and kind of getting people to come and speak at them and making things happen. You're kind of earning your own, you're making your own opportunities there as well. But all of those things come down to this crucial third party endorsement, and as I say, other people saying that you're good at what you do. But the thing that's great now, and the great opportunity now with PR, is you have got content marketing as well. So you've got your own channels which you control. So you've got your YouTube, social media, blogging, your own podcast, you've got your email list, you can host your own events, and also you can showcase your own expertise. And so you've got other people's channels, you've got your own channels, and actually when the two things come together, that's really, really powerful, because by getting, you know, PR coverage and building relationships, building collaborations, it gives you content to talk about on your own channels. But equally, by getting media coverage, you can share the links to that on your own channels. So before, people used to say, oh, you know, today's news is tomorrow's chip paper, and that's totally not the case now, because if coverage is online, you can share it far and wide. Just the link though, not pictures of it. That's something to be aware of for copyright reasons. But yeah, once you've got a link, you can share that and say, you know, as seen it, and you've got that endorsement, that credibility to show, you know, that you've got that extra rubber stamp of approval, really. So as I say, the power of PR, it's all about third party endorsement and adding to the know, like and trust factor by other people. It's like LinkedIn, isn't it? If someone says, do you know anyone who can do this? It's about helping with those recommendations and those referrals and making you stand out above other people that are doing the same thing as you. It builds your reputation, your profile, because you're reaching more people, you're showing the good work that you're doing, you're telling your story. It raises your credibility, because I say you're getting that rubber stamp of approval. You're using other people's channels to reach more people than you could through your own channels. And you're growing your brand because people get to know you and what you stand for, especially, as I say, if you are the business owner, it's your baby, it's your brand, you know, you're sharing your story and getting people to know you and your values and what you stand for. So it's really powerful. And the thing I always say is with PR, because we have to be so succinct and to the point when we're pitching to journalists or anyone else for opportunities, you have to get your messaging really, really spot on and be able to introduce yourself and your business and your idea really, really sort of succinctly. So I believe that PR and all the planning that goes into the sort of, you know, is a strategic discipline. It focuses the mind so that it helps with all your other content, you know, making sure that your key messages are in there and that you know, are kind of linking everything together. And it is a relatively low cost compared to advertising, in that, as I say, you're not buying the space. You can, you know, send a press release to multiple outlets with tailored pictures, and you can, you know, reach a lot more people rather than just, you know, a one-off and reaching a bigger audience. So within all of that, I really like to summarize my own definition of PR, and I believe it's as simple as getting the right information to the right person at the right time. And ultimately, that is the objective is to reach your target audience or customer, to do all of those great things and build your profile and get known. So I just want to talk a little bit about, you know, the sort of work that I've done since I've been freelance, and the sort of people I've worked with, just to kind of give you a flavour of how PRs work for them. So just a few examples of different types of clients, really. I mean, as I say this, the thing that binds my clients together tends to be owner-managed businesses who've turned their passion into a business. And I think all of these, probably apart from one, would fall under that example. So a real range of businesses here, and there are more. I've got more examples, but I won't, you know, if you want to know any more about it or see any of the coverage from any of these clients, then I've certainly got those examples to share. But for example, the Career Farm, Jane Barrett, coaches MBA students. She goes into universities and coaches them on careers. She also has an online, she's grown an online business as well. And with Jane, it was positioning her as an expert in that field with the media. Her absolute dream was to get into the Financial Times, because they do a lot of MBA coverage. And we, you know, I did achieve that with her. She also desperately wanted to get into the British Airways magazine, because again, it's that idea of she knew exactly who her target audience was. And I think PR works the best when you're really, really, really clear on that, because she knew the BA High Life magazine was, you know, something that people who she wanted to work with would read. Same with the FT. So, but equally, we had sort of tips pieces in the Daily Mirror's careers page, on the MBA Association. So it's really about being clear on who your target customer is, and what media would make the difference for them. What would if they saw those mastheads on your website, what would make them think, oh wow, she knows the stuff or he knows the stuff. I was the retained PR consultant for 2 years for the Leeds and Yorkshire Housing Association, and that was, you know, quite different to my other clients in the sense that obviously it's a big organisation with a board, with a chief executive, and it was a long established brand. But for them, their objectives were very clear. It was about raising their profile in the Leeds and West Yorkshire area. They also have some properties in North Yorkshire, but to show them as a good landlord, as a landlord that's making difference to people's lives and helping people who needed housing, and showing, you know, all the great values that they've got about bringing communities together, investing in communities, investing in new technologies. So there was a lot of local and regional PR, but also they wanted to raise their profile in the housing sector in terms of showing that they were developing and building homes. They weren't just using the existing stock, they were building homes, and showing how forward thinking they were in the sector, what a great calibre of team that they had. So we did a lot of sort of opinion pieces and also, yeah, stories about developments that they made, so groundbreaking ceremonies, that sort of thing, but really positioning them as a voice of authority. A small housing association but making a massive difference was really their sort of key theme. So another client I've worked with for 6 years is the Great Northern Contemporary Craft Fair, and I think, again, in terms of perceptions, craft has a mixed perception, in that compared to something like art, where people kind of have different opinions of that, whereas craft, people may think of something, you know, sort of cottage industry, but actually for the Great Northern Contemporary Craft Fair, they brought together 160 professional designer makers making beautiful products, and selling them, you know, online, but bring them all together for a long weekend in one venue, and all of those makers were hand selected by a panel of experts. So it was PR to raise a profile of that event, but also to get people to that event and drive visitors to that event. So for them, you know, we had some great coverage in the Guardian Weekend magazine, in loads of What's On sectors, like in the Sunday Express, the Saturday Express, big feature on the makers in the Telegraph, and it was about sort of, some of it was about the actual event and driving people to that event, which was one of their kind of objectives. The other objective was raising the profile of contemporary craft, and that it was something that was worth looking at and considering as almost an art form, essentially. So a lot of work went into that in terms of perceptions and raising perceptions and getting it seen in the nationals. In terms of coaching clients, just a couple of examples. I do have more, but Adriana Gentile, who makes beautiful woven woolen scarves and homewares, I've worked with her. She came to one of my workshops, which is all about getting a PR strategy together in terms of looking at, well, who am I trying to reach? What do I actually want to achieve in this business and with my communications? Where do I need to be seen to do that? What story have I got to tell? What expertise have I got to share? So we went through that for a whole day. And then she's pulled together her own press release, her own media bio. She invested in some great photography as well. And she's then gone and got coverage in Yorkshire Life magazine off her, you know, off her own back, really, using the skills that I shared with her. And then another one, Bird Kitchen Clothing, Vicky North. She was looking to launch basically chef wear, but for a woman's body, because all the chef whites, all the aprons were all basically designed for a man's body, or certainly not shaped for a woman's body. And she wanted to get that out there and launch that. So we did a full day workshop, and she's had loads of coverage in sort of specific foodie magazines, with, you know, she's done loads of great photography, and just really getting herself out there, and building the brand, really. And she does loads of great tutorials on Instagram, actually, about she's a baker as well. That's her background. So if you want any great bread tutorials, go and check her out on Instagram. So that's just a real flavour of the sort of people that I've worked with. As I say, there's lots more. That's kind of a starter for 10, just to kind of I suppose just give you an insight into the process that I go through. It always starts with, you know, as I say, who you're trying to reach, what are you trying to achieve, what stories have you got to tell, and where do you need to tell them. So it goes back to that, you know, PR is about getting the right information to the right person at the right time. and the time is very crucial, because ultimately with anyone you're trying to pitch to, it's like, why should they use you now? Why should they cover you now? Why is that interesting now? So it's about tailoring it in terms of, as well as who you're trying to reach, but when you're trying to reach them. So in terms of what I offer, I do all sorts of things. I offer full PR campaigns, you know, like for example the Great Northern Contemporary Craft Fair would be one of those, where it's very time bound and they're wanting to actually, as I say, drive people to a certain event at a certain time, but equally work with people on an ongoing basis every month to just keep working on their profile and keep getting them out there. Because the thing with PR is it's a marathon, not a sprint, and as you can appreciate and imagine, building good relationships takes time, and building your profile takes time. So you know, being able to do that on an ongoing monthly basis is very powerful. But I equally do one-off press releases for people, and issue those to media contacts, and pull together lists of who they need to go to, and then follow those up and try and, you know, influence to get coverage. Launch, if people are launching new businesses or new products, is a great PR hook. It's a natural thing that passes that why now test because it's new. So I do a lot of work on when people are launching new services or products or businesses. I have experience in issues in crisis communications, did a lot of that at the National Media Museum, not particularly crisis communications, but issues management, and just, you know, if there's news that needs to be communicated that isn't, you know, all good, how you get that out there in a, you know, in a sensitive and, you know, professional way, and manage any sort of inquiries and come back from that. I am fully crisis communications trained. I did have to go and do a training session where I was like pretending to be doorstepped if I worked for an airline. That was not the best, but you know, equally, you know, it's being able to respond in a crisis and sort of manage your communications and being, you know, on telling the information that you can tell, you know, in the best way. I've worked setting up PR events, whether that's photo calls, press conferences, but equally events for people as well, although obviously not at the moment. And then for Cheerleader PR, I do offer 2-hour PR strategy calls where we literally go through that process, as I say, of going through who you're trying to work with. It's my kind of the approach I would apply to any client I was doing PR for. I work through somebody with it so they can go through that and then have that information for themselves. And I do also do things like I have a 12-week PR yourself course where, again, I work with somebody one-to-one to help them to sort of learn how to do PR and then go off and actually do it with my support as well. So it's my accountability, because I think the thing is with learning any new skill for yourself, it's also then actually, you know, being able to follow through with it and implement it. And I don't want just to teach people all these things and then they just, you know, sits on a piece of paper. I want them to be able to actually go and do it. So that's a way that I've been able to help people to make that happen. So I think that's it for my kind of general presentation. And there's all my details, my website. I've got a Facebook group. I've got a Facebook page, and I'm on Instagram. So if you want to come and find me on there, then do feel free to do so. I'm obviously in this group, which is brilliant. I'm already loving it. So you can find me on all the chats and stuff like that. As I said, been a little bit quiet recently, which I'm sure a lot of people have, but I am around. And if you ever need to pick my brains or have a chat, or, you know, if I can help you or any of your clients, then just give me a shout. But yeah, I shall stop the share. I don't know if we've got any questions because I can't see them. Doesn't look like it. But if you've got any questions, then please do let me know and I will answer you. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much, Caroline. That's really good, and I think it's obviously very relevant to what I was saying just before that about the various things that we're doing with Northern Affinity. It's PR. That's what it is. The live videos and the blogs and everything else that we'll be doing. So it'll be kind of all of us working together on that in the coming weeks and months. So next bit is you guys chatting to each other. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms of about 4-5 people. Just maybe 10-15 minutes, just a chance. What I'd suggest is you all go around the room, just, you know, a couple of minutes, explain who you are, what you do, you know, the usual type of thing, and just chance to have a bit of a chat with each other. Yeah, so nothing too formal. I will put you into the breakout rooms now. Right, I think everyone's back. Hopefully you found that useful to get to have a little chat with everyone. We'll do it again in a few minutes of time as well. I think it's a really nice way of introducing yourself to, like I said, some of the guys you've not met before. So hopefully that was okay for everyone. So the next bit I want to talk about was, again, going back to the kind of getting the best out of the Northern Affinity, and that's kind of how we communicate with each other internally. So obviously a couple of weeks or so ago, I set up the workspace, which hopefully I know a lot of people have got on there now. I've just given it time to kind of get used to using it and how to use it before we kind of, I want to try and make as much as we can put through that. I know we've had a few issues with people who've already been set up on workspaces elsewhere, but we're getting there with that. So that hopefully be more and more getting to use that, as well as the WhatsApp group that I know most of you are in. When all this started, I also started the collaboration sessions, which hopefully I know many of you have been on now. And basically trying to break it down so people in similar kind of industries, similar kind of areas of work can get together and kind of find out a bit more about each other and potentially look at ways of working together. So they're happening every couple of weeks. I think we've got 3 of them next week. If anyone wants any more information, hopefully I think everyone's got the invites to them, but it'd be great to see as many of you on there as possible. They've been really good because they've been a bit like the breakout rooms, small numbers of anywhere between about 4 and 8, generally people on each call. So it's nice, plenty of interaction, that type of thing. We've got the monthly meeting, which obviously we're on now. The next one is scheduled for, I believe it's the 29th of May, which was originally in the school holidays. I don't know if a few of you remember back in maybe, I think it was January, I said I might be moving that meeting. Actually, I think the school holidays might be the best time to have the meetings at the moment, so people aren't having to act as a teacher. So we'll keep it on that date for now. But that is that's 5 weeks off, just how the dates have fallen, so it's a little bit of time off. I did see on the poll, most people think, as we said, I'll quickly share the results. You see on there, well, anytime after August, the vast majority of people think anywhere between August and December is the next time we're going to be together. My personal opinion is September feels about right. I don't know why, maybe because of the schools, but we'll see from there. So yeah, we'll continue to do these as they are, for people who can make them, but also if people can't, we're going to have the recordings available as well. We've got the spreadsheet for all the partners with all the various contact details on, the social media profiles and all that kind of stuff. Can keep using that. Can help by sharing each other's content on social, reviews, all that kind of stuff is all really useful things. A few of you will know, just before all this started, we had our first local meetings in Huddersfield and Harrogate. Obviously, they are very much on hold right now. I had actually provisionally booked 3 dates in Huddersfield at the football ground to hold some events there. Obviously, that is currently on hold. It was going to be in May, June, and July. So, but we will definitely pick that up again whenever it's safe to do so. Hopefully, later on in the year. And the quick thing I wanted to mention as well was that you will see in the communication recently about the accountability groups that I know Karen's really really kind of driven forward, which has been great. We had a kind of taster session on this Monday just gone, and then the kind of next ones start, the proper ones start on Monday. I don't know if Karen, you've got anything to add on the accountability group?
No, I don't think so. Other than, I mean, we've had really good feedback already, and I know you said that you'd found it useful, Jeff. You're in the peer group, but also the accountability group. So we're going to meet once a week, really brief meeting, really focused. That's just to say, here are my goals that I'm setting out, and the very meaningful ones, one or two, that would actually drive your business forward. Because, you know, a good goal would not be, I need to catch up to my to-do list. So it's actually about something really specific that's a challenge for you that will drive your business forward. And then what we do the next week is a quick check-in with everybody to say, right, here's where I got to with this, here's how I scored myself on how successful I was as a percentage to achieve it, and here's what my next goals are going to be the coming week. And it's really hard, you know, for lots of us who work on our own to hold ourselves accountable, but actually we do give a damn what other people think about us. So it is a real driver and a real motivator for people. We've got more space. I've spoken to Brenda today, and if we do get lots more people, we're quite happy to set up a second session to do that, because we know it's of real benefit for people, particularly at the moment when we're all stuck at home as well. So, right, thanks Caroline for that, for your feedback there. So yeah, so do get in touch with either me, Brenda or Michael if you're interested in joining with the next one. Or if you can't make Mondays, just get in touch anyway. We could possibly look at doing one on a Friday instead of a Monday if we've got enough people to run them. So thanks for that, Michael.
No, thank you, Karen. And I said, if anyone got any questions, ask myself or anyone who's on the call on Monday, or obviously I'm sure Karen and happy to take them as well. So yeah, has anyone got any questions on anything I've mentioned regarding that and the communication side of things? Obviously, if anything's got anything at the end, we can go through all that. Or you want to grab me and ring me anytime, that's fine. So we're gonna go back and do another one of the rooms, if that's okay. I'm gonna kind of mix it up and get you a chance to chat to a few of the other guys again, 3 or 4 people per room, about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll come back to me, and then I'll just have 10 minutes to finish off. So enjoy. All right, well, I think everyone's back in, so we'll just finish off really. Go back to, yeah, so last kind of few things from me is about this is kind of a lot of the newer stuff that's come through Northern Affinity at the moment. I won't go through everything in there because obviously some of it's kind of already been part of it, but some of the new stuff, for those who were on the call last month, Phil's story did all about the website support, so that's going to be up and running hopefully at some point next week, where we'll basically have a portal which people will be able to sign up, and if they've got WordPress websites, to get support updates and things like that. But obviously I'll send out more details on what exactly that all entails. But it's a decent chance for anyone in the group, and I'm sure Phil will be happy to answer as many questions as people have as we go forward with that. The peer group coaching is continuing. We had the session this morning, Brenda and Karen ran again. That will continue for over the summer, and the original plan was to kind of stop it in around July time, kind of take stock on the groups and start again in September. Who knows what we're going to do at the moment, and that, I suppose that's provisionally, there's still a plan, but we'll see what happens and take it from there. You all know about the co-working stuff that we've got already. I know a number of you have been on various in-business networking sessions, whether it's the face-to-face before all this, or every Tuesday morning they're doing an online one. We're going to have basically essentially a joint offer that's coming out. So if you're a member of the Northern Affinity, you get a discount on membership of in-business as well. So I'll be communicating all that very soon. Things like virtual addresses, the podcasting, all that kind of stuff is stuff that we're going to be doing very soon, and all the details. We're having a new web page built, and that'll be coming in the next week or two. But the final thing I wanted to talk about before we finish was on the website and in other places with the social. We're going to be talking a lot about the people within the group as our team of experts. So we're going to have the packages. So, like, for example, a peer group coaching is a package that I do with Brenda and Karen. Some of you maybe have services that we can do that with, and I'll be looking to do more and more with everyone within the group. But some people might not have a service that lends itself to a package. So I can see Sarah on the call in finance. It doesn't work with that, or maybe Jeff as well, insurance. It doesn't work, but there's obviously an area of expertise there. So the new website will have this communicated to people about the people we've got in the group and the expertise we've got in the group. So as well as the directory that I kind of touched on earlier, we're going to have these areas of expertise of people. So whether it's in finance and we're going to not just, the headline might be finance, but within there, there'll be the commercial finance or personal finance or mortgage advisors or whatever it may be. But we will also extend that to everybody in the group. So even if you do have something that might work well in a package, but it can still be as a team of experts. So in marketing, in training, in coaching, whatever it might be. So that page has been more or less built now. My in-house content specialist will be filling out that content over the next week or two. So we'll have that very soon, but I want it to be used. I'm going back to Caroline's talk earlier about PR. This is another area that you guys can be using. We're trying to kind of give you the publicity, so you are an expert in your field, and that's something we're going to be promoting again through the site and through social media and such like. So really quickly, last things from me. One thing I'm planning to do is when we do get back to some form of normality, a lot of you might have a lot of tins in your cupboard, or you might have done a clear out of your all your clothes that no longer fit, or whatever it might be. We're planning to do some sort of big kind of drive at the Northern HQ as maybe a location to house all that and give it out to whether it's local food banks or charities and that type of thing. So just bear that in mind. I'm sure there's various things that you all do as well individually, which is fine, but we might tie it into the first meeting that we all have face to face. So there'll be all that at the Northern HQ. I mentioned the collaboration sessions, so they're ongoing, so please join the ones that you can do. The Northern Affinity monthly meeting, as I mentioned earlier, that will be 29th of May. I think there's a likelihood we're going to have a bit more of a clearer understanding and maybe of a bit of a roadmap of what's happening by then, so that might be part of the discussion, but we'll also have various people doing bits on the call as well. And one thing I've not put on here, which I'm about to I'll mention, is I've been inspired by various people who are doing all sorts of charity stuff at the moment. So many of you will know that one of the main things I'm missing at the moment is going to the football. So what I'm going to do during May is I'm going to run the equivalent of running from my house to Anfield and back again, which is 140 something miles. I think it's 144 miles, which basically works out about 5 miles a day I'm going to do. So I'm going to be doing a charity, doing a charity run for that. For someone who's, I think I've done 6 runs in the last 2 years, it's going to be quite tough and dodgy knees and getting older and all that kind of stuff. But I will be asking for a little bit of donation. I'll be setting up a Just Giving and that kind of thing. So, yeah, so no, I don't want to be a Man City fan, Sarah. I want to go where, to be fair, Man City, they'll be okay because social distancing, they've been practicing it for years in their ground, so they'll be fine. The rest of us are used to crowds. It's a little bit more difficult. But there we go. So yeah, so obviously I'll be letting you, allowing everyone know the details of that, and any little donations would be great. But that's kind of it from me. Does anyone have any questions? Anything they want to mention? Anything that's going on before we all go and finish? And obviously I'll be catching up with you all, whether it's individually or on the various calls. Anybody? We all okay? I had to get that dig in, Sarah. Well, have a great afternoon and a great weekend, everyone. If you get a chance to enjoy the sun. If nothing else, we've got good weather, haven't we, at the moment? So have a great weekend, and thank you very much for coming on as well. And like I said, and stay safe, most importantly. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.